Yeah, let's see if we can go through. Repeat after me. Sola Scriptura.
Sola Scriptura.
Sola Grazia. Sola Fide. Solus Christus. Solia Deo Gloria. Gloria. Yeah, those are. Now, I want you to get this. I was talking to Harold, and he said, my guys are kind of thinking through, going like, what's going on? What's he doing? Where are we going? I just want to incite a spark in your brain. That's it. I just want to light up your brain a little bit that you go, I want to go on a journey and investigate the faith. Say the faith.
The faith.
See, you've got your faith, but then there's the faith. Say, I've got my faith, but there is the faith. Say it. I've got my faith, but there is the faith. Those are two distinct, different issues. Hopefully you understand that they're connected, but yet they're distinct. And these solas, these onlys, these totas, these all, they all go back to Christ, who is the seed or the head of the church. And then there were the roots, his teachings. Or there were the apostles who were the proponents of those teachings, and the church blossomed. And then it was lost through the dark, the Middle Ages. And then the reformers brought it back by God's grace. And then for the last 500 years, once again, it's been confused, watered down, lost. And so my goal is to spark you to say, I want to make sure that I'm connected to the seed, to the head, or that those roots that I believe in are the roots of the faith. You guys got that? That's all I'm trying to do. We're not going to get it all this weekend. If you're here going, man, I want to get it all this weekend. Now, my goal is just spark you a little bit, have some fun, a little fright, maybe, thinking through, am I really a child of God connected to Christ? Just a little bit. I want you to think. I love you guys. It's a privilege to be here. I just don't want to just give you baby food and water this down. I love having fun. I love the little rap thing. And Damien was incredible. You know, that was awesome. And the band's awesome. It's all good. But I want you guys to know that you know that you know that you know that you are connected to the head of the body, which is Christ. And his doctrines, his teaching, not something that you made up or some pastor has made up or some Christian bookstore has offered to us. But you're connected to the faith and the head of the faith. That's big for me. So, talked about sola grazia. When I was, I don't know, maybe 17, 18, I got my first car. It was really given to me for a few bucks. It was, you're going to laugh, it was a 57 Chevy. Anybody? 57 Chevy had a trunk that was large enough to put 12 guys in the trunk. I mean, you could pack them in there and do things you shouldn't be doing. I'm not going to talk about that, but he had a 50. It was an incredible car. It was like driving a bus. But when I got the car, some things needed to be fixed, and one of them was the brakes. If you don't have brakes on a car, you got a problem. You get in a car, you start the car, and then you drive the car, and you are trusting that that car, when you press on that pedal, that brake, it's going to stop. True or false? I mean, you're trusting. It's an element of faith. We live by it every day. You open a bottle of water that you buy in the store, and you're not really thinking about it, but you're really hoping somewhere on the inside that someone has not contaminated that water. Or you go to a restaurant and food comes out and they put it on your table and you go, man, it looks good, but what's in it? We live by faith every day. Trust, confidence. It's a part of our life. So my Chevy. The guy said, I think you may need some brakes. It's a problem. So my mother said, I've got a guy who can fix these brakes. He's very, very good. You can have complete confidence in this guy to fix your brakes. So took it, fixed the car. I paid him some money and got in the car and pressed on. Oh, yeah, this is good. The brakes are working. And then I drove towards one of the main streets by where my house was. As I got towards the intersection, the light changed. I knew I had a brake. And I pressed on the pedal and it went right to the floor. I mean, right to the floor. Have you ever had that happen? Have you ever pressed on brakes and had to go right to the floor? I mean, your first reaction is, no, what do I do? You panic. What do I do? You jerk the wheel. I mean, you probably should just shut the car off. But I headed for a pole. I thought, that's what will stop me, a pole. Something's got to stop me because the brakes had failed. And then thump, I hit the pole and, of course, damaged the car. But the guy promised me that the brakes were good, and I placed my confidence and my faith in this guy to fix my car. But he failed. Start thinking about Who you place your faith in, what is the faith, what is faith all about? We live by it every day. I was in Toronto, Canada speaking. Ontario Bible College. Went downtown to Toronto and walking around, and there was this sausage place. You know, this guy was out there, a vendor doing sausages. I told him, I said, let's go get a sausage. Looks so good. Get some peppers on there and some onions and mustard, and that'll really be good. And so we walked over there, and this little old guy was there, I don't know, probably looked like he was 155 years old, but he was probably my age, and walked over there and bought it and walked away and turned around to thank him because it was so good. And when I turned to thank him, he had his hands scratching down his pants. And I had already taken a bite of that hot dog. By faith, I believe that hot dog was clean and pure. Not ever thinking where the guy's hands had been who had put it together without rubber gloves. So every day we live by faith. You sit on a toilet and you're hoping it flushes and it doesn't suck you down. You hope it flushes and that it doesn't go and suck you right down. Did you guys hear the story? We heard it on the way down here. Or the woman somewhere, I think it was out in Salt Lake City, who went into a barbecue place. Did you hear the story? It just came out. Got some barbecue and some sweet tea. I love sweet tea. Who loves sweet tea? I love sweet tea, right? You drink too much of it, you get big. But I love sweet tea. She went in there, faith, here's sweet tea. And she said, could you make sure that it's sweetened properly? The guy apparently grabbed the wrong bottle, and he put some kind of cleaning fluid in there, and it burned her esophagus all the way down. So every day, the point is this. You're going to get in your canoes today. Fun. Running bear, love little white dove. You guys are going to be out there on the river canoeing by faith, hoping it's going to keep you afloat. And by faith, then nobody's going to come over and flip your boat. And by faith, you're going to come back alive. And by faith, a snake won't come and give you a big surprise. Or something else. So the point again is this. I want you to get this. Say Sola Fide. Say Sola Fide. Every day we live by faith. I go to camps and they say, there's a blob. You know what a blob is? Don't you want to be blob, Chuck? By faith, you climb up. By faith, you walk out. And by faith, you jump off and you hope that the blob doesn't blow up when you hit it. Wouldn't that be incredible? You're supposed to sit and crawl out, but when you hit it, it just blows up. By faith, I was in Nebraska recently, and they said, you got to go on our zip line. It's 200 yards flying right through the woods. You'll be like Peter Pan. I said, I'd love to be like Peter Pan, little green tights, incredible. And so I went there, and some person that looks like they're way too young says, belay is on, and they hook that little thing on your waist, and then you stand up on the platform, and you run, and you jump off by faith, and you fly through the air, hoping that the belay does what? It holds. And while I was spinning around, cruising through the woods, just singing, all of a sudden it grabbed me. Oh, what if it just breaks? Well, I'm going down. Every day we live by faith. Every day we trust people. We trust food. We trust stuff and things. We live by faith. Sola Fide, say it. Sola Fide. Faith alone. So there's faith. Your faith, there is the faith, and then there's something called saving faith. Say saving faith. Saving faith. So what is saving faith? Now, once again, if I walked through the room and took a poll, because what we're trying to do is think through what is the true faith? The faith, which is really, if you were to say, what was Jesus? Jesus was a Protestant. He protested Orthodox Judaism and a systems of works that said this is how you're saved. And he taught it's faith. And he taught it was faith in him. He was a Protestant. Jesus was a Protestant. And Martin Luther was a Protestant. And we're supposed to be Protestants. We are supposed to be pro the faith and against anything that is not of the faith. Keep thinking about it. I'm just trying to throw thoughts out, get you to think. Spur your thinking. Stimulate your thinking. Make you ask the question, what is the faith? What really is grace? Is grace a part of something I do? Is faith a part of something I do? Is it something God and I do? Is it connected to some big words like synergism and semi-Pelagianism, which I don't have time to explain, but it's very important to your eternal destiny. Remember I said a secure foundation. has a whole lot to do with your future life in this world and in the life to come. So what is saving faith? Sola Fide. What is that stuff? Well, let me read this to you. It is this. I think it's this. It is nothing more or nothing less. In fact, you can write this down. I'll give it to you so maybe you can write it down if you have time. It's nothing more or nothing less. You can scribble it in your own words, but try to get it close. It's nothing more or nothing less than complete. It's nothing more or nothing less than complete confidence. Saving faith, faith that declares you not guilty before God, is nothing more or nothing less than complete. Say complete. Say confidence. Say complete confidence. Now you got to think about that. You're saying stuff, and I know we say stuff, and you do that to a certain degree all through your lives. We repeat, we mimic people, but these are huge issues. I want you to think through this week and begin a journey. Are you connected really to that root called Sola Fide, or that which is saving faith? What is that faith? It is complete confidence in, here it goes, the saving works of Christ alone. It's nothing else. It's the song we sang this morning. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus. Come on, blood and righteousness. I dare not trust. Come on. Frame but wholly lean on Jesus' name. So saving faith is what? Read it back to me. What do you have on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3, go. That's what it almost sounded like. Let's try it again on the count of 3 all together now. Ready? Just here we go. Come on. I want you to read it together best you can. 1, 2, 3, go. Or nothing then in the saving works of Christ alone. Now, a lot of people would say, well, that's what I believe. But there's a problem. Now, give me your eyes again. Back during the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, the church got confused. Heresies came in. And a system was developed that said faith comes through things that you do. 7 sacraments were given by a system called Romanism. 7 things you do. Hindus have theirs and Muslims have theirs. But those of us who say we are Protestants, we are of the true faith, the only faith, there's nothing that we do. It is no works that save us. By sola gratia, by grace you have been saved through faith. And that is what? That is, it's a gift. It's not of yourself. So what's the gift? The saving faith is a gift from God, a result of sola gratia. You get sola fide. And the church got lost. And the church got confused. Now give me your eyes. I still think we got issues today. It's not necessarily just Romanism, or Buddhists, or Hinduism, or Islam, or Mormons, or Jehovah's Witnesses. It's what's in what we call the Protestant community. We have lost the connection to the roots. And therefore, now this is important, saving faith, sola fide, has taken many different definitions based upon what we subjectively think, our opinions. And opinions are worthless. Did you know that? I mean, it's okay to have an opinion. My opinion is the Chicago Cubs are going to win the World Series before I die. That's my opinion. But is that truth? Probably not. My opinion is the Chicago Blackhawks will go to the Stanley Cup playoffs again this year. True or false? Good opinion. It's a good opinion. My opinion is the Chicago Bears are going to probably do nothing. So, no, the Bears. Bear down, Chicago Bears, right? So give me your eyes, get this. I'm asking you guys I love you guys. We love the privilege to be with you. It's a super group to hang out with. But I really don't want, and I'm not condemning or making assumptions, but what I don't want is I don't want you to be caught up in a pseudo-evangelical Protestant movement. Do you know what that means? A false movement of teaching that is really not corrected to the head, the seed, Christ, and the roots of the faith, which the apostles taught. I don't want that for you guys. There's no joy in that. There is fear in that, and there is guilt in that, and there's oppression in that. I want you to be set free by sola gratia, grace, and sola fide, the incredible gift given through a sovereign, loving God called saving faith. It's nothing more, nothing less than Christ and what he's done. You know, when I was a kid, I thought I was saved. I know you guys have heard me say this before. I thought I was saved. I really thought I was saved. I've offered a book to some of your youth leaders called, I wanted them to read, Stop Asking Jesus into Your Heart. I probably asked Jesus into my heart 3,000 times as a kid because I was getting saved every other day for something. But saving faith deals with the curse of the law that we inherit at our birth. And I want you to journey and think through that and wrestle through that. Nothing more, nothing less than Christ the lawkeeper, Christ the Lamb, you've heard this, and Christ the Lion of Judah, his works. Not by works of righteousness, which we have done. But come on, help me finish it. But according to his mercy, by the washing of regeneration, by the renewing. It's a good old Awana verse. Anybody ever been in Awana? It's a good old Awana verse. By the renewing of the Holy Spirit. So, saving faith, listen carefully, got lost in the Middle Ages. God in his kindness, his sovereign goodness, used men like John Wycliffe, and the scriptures written now in English. And men like John Huss, the scriptures now written into the language of the Eastern Europeans so they could understand it. Savonarola, so the scriptures were written so the Italians could get it. And God in his kindness boomed a reformation to reform the church, bring it back and correct it. And we need another one. And I want you guys to be a part of that. I want you guys to say, we need to get back to those roots. Go back to Christ. Go back and investigate. Make sure we understand sola gratia, grace alone. Sola fide, faith alone. And it never comes through a system of works. It never comes through an organization called Baptists or Methodists or Romans or Muslims or non-denominational churches or Calvary chapels. It never comes through a church. It comes through Christ and Christ alone. I want that for you guys. And you'll enjoy great freedom in your lives. Great freedom. Great joy. And great adoration. We were talking last night, the band and I were talking, and we're going to get to Soli Deo Gloria Sunday morning. If we understood sola gratia and sola fide and sola scriptura and solus Christus and Soli Deo Gloria on a Sunday morning, you know what we'd all do? We'd all gather from our homes, come in and get on our knees. And we wouldn't wait for the show to begin. We'd begin giving adoration to the Redeemer. Wouldn't wait for the show, the band to light it up, or the PowerPoint to go up. We wouldn't wait for the entertainment. Because Christ is present in our lives and in the community of Christ. Man, we can do that on the river today, you guys. Here, I want to give you one more thought here about saving faith. Here, I want you to write this down. Because and I want you to talk about this today. Saving faith includes, I didn't say this, R.C. Sproul says this. I like Sproul. You know what Sproul is, anybody? Sproullites? Any Sproullites? Some of you know who R.C. Sproul is. He's a good man, but he says this. Saving faith includes, I want you to talk about this. Investigate this. Number one, information that's accurate. Write it down. Information that is accurate. Information about what? Information about us, Christ, or the Godhead. Think about it. Talk about it. So number one, what does saving faith include? Faith that justifies or declares us not guilty before God. That brings two parties who are at war with one another. What is that? What does it include? Number one, read it back to me. Shout it out. So you guys got a job. You got an assignment. Here it is. Homework assignment. What information? What do I find in the Bible that gives me that clear information about this? Number two, intellectual assent. Our faith, or the faith, is not a dumb, ignorant faith. So number two, intellectual assent. A-S-S-E-N-T. Intellectual assent. Well, what does that mean? That there is knowledge that is, this is important to me and to you, should be. There's knowledge that is biblically logical. It's logical. It is very concise and succinct. It makes sense. It's not ignorance. It's not, a lot of people say, you know, all you guys in your Christian faith, it's all just a bunch of hocus pocus mysticism. Our faith is not that. It is founded on facts, that is logical, that is systematic, and it's your job to intellectually get the information and assent to that. That's a part of saving faith. So what is the information and what is that intellectual assent? What does that mean to even intellectually assent to something? Hey, would you guys talk about that later on? Talk about it on the river. What does it mean to intellectually assent? Hey, over there in that canoe, have you intellectually assented to anything today? What does it mean? Here, give me your eyes. I love you guys again. If you're concerned about heaven, hell, life on this earth, friends who need Jesus, joy in your lives, you got to investigate the roots. You got to go back. I'm going to keep driving this going back to the past. I had a woman say to me not long ago, Beckler, haven't you learned it all? The older I get, the more I realize I feel like I know nothing. I don't stand up here like, oh man, I've got it, and you don't. I feel pretty ignorant at times. I want to be a student of the Word, a student of my God. I want to know Him. I want to know what the faith is. I want to know what the roots are. I want to be able to help people and love people. And the more I know, the better I'll be able to worship my God. And I want that for you guys. I want your youth ministry's Fuel and Journey to explode in Gardner. To explode. And touch people's lives. I want Switch to blow the place up and switch people's lives around. Not that you can do it, but you can bring the message to them. And it's the gospel that blows up lives. It's the power of God unto salvation, dunamis, dynamite, blows you up. Man, today I thought, how cool would it be just to have water balloons? You know, Reggie and I cruising together, and every once in a while just bombard some of you guys and say, it's the gospel coming your way. Blow up your canoes, you know? I don't really think we get it, you know? The gospel blows up your life. It transforms you, and you live differently. I promise you, if I could have a bazooka and blow up your canoe today, which would be really wrong, I promise you if I could do that, you would live differently throughout the rest of the day. I promise you if I had an RPG and I could play a living call to duty on the river, you would live differently the rest of the day because it blows up your life. Give me your eyes. I'm asking you as friends, has your life really been blown up by the gospel, which really are a manifestation of the essence, the core of the roots which come from Christ? And the church, beautiful, had lost it. And the reformers, by God's grace, brought it back. And today we want to be tolerant and say everybody's saved and everybody's okay. There was a guy that wrote books and everybody in the evangelical church loved this guy. Universal everybody. Everybody said he's incredible. Heresy. RB? Anybody? Number 3. What does saving faith include? It includes personal trust. That's that confidence thing. That's that confidence thing. So, personal trust. So what does saving faith include? That faith that justifies. Read them back to me, please, on the count of 3. Just the ladies first. I know you're going, oh, this is so redundant. Repetition is the mother of all learning. Did you know that? Catechizing, that style, is the mother of all learning. Question, answer. Question, answer. I could tell you stories of boogers, but that's not going to save you. But if you pick your nose right, it could help you. I could tell you stories of passing gas, but that's not going to save you. But if you pass it, it could free you. But it could harm others around you. I could tell you stories of smelly armpits and stinky feet. I could tell you stories of people who just have too much stuff in their belly button. And we could all laugh here all day, but I promise you, none of that, and I'm all for some of that stuff at times, but none of that will blow up your life, change you for eternity, give you hope in this world, give you freedom, give you joy. I'm all for all that stuff. Have some fun, but it won't change your life. It's only saving faith. Sola Fide, Sola Grazia. It's the roots. You going to go digging? You going to be a digger? You got to dig. You're going to see a bunch of roots today in the river. You're going to see roots. You're going to see roots. You look at the roots from those trees, and you look where they're going. You tell me where they're going. They're going deep, man. We need to dig deep and go for those roots. We live our lives by faith every day, you guys. Look at Romans chapter 5, would you? Couple texts. Look at Romans 5. I want to show you this. And you write this down. You talk about it later. Romans chapter 5, and look at verse 1. It says this. It is Romans chapter 5 is the heart of the issue of saving faith. Some of the old dead guys said it was at the vortex or at the center of the Reformation storm to get the church back on track. Romans 5:1. Let me read it to you. Listen carefully. Paul, now give me your eyes. Give me your eyes quickly. I love you. I want you to get this, okay? Paul's writing to, now, when I don't say this stuff, it's not to be condescending. I'm trying to get you to think, what do we know, what don't we know? Paul is writing to who? Is he writing to those who are Christians or non-Christians? Or maybe writing to everybody? It's a letter, you guys. And it's an epistle, a letter written specifically to a group of people who are Christians living in Rome. And so therefore the content specifically applies to them. That's called hermeneutical principles of Bible teaching. Get it right. Who's it written to? And then you can think about the application. But it's written to Christians. If you're a Christian, it's for you. Watch what it says. Paul says he wants to encourage them, therefore, and he's saying therefore because of all that God has done. Therefore, since we have been, shout the word out. Shout it out. Shout it out. Come on, guys, shout it out. Ladies. Now that's, you may go, oh, I'm just shouting a word. I'm going to tell you something. There's heaven and hell in that word. For you and for me. Justified means to be declared not guilty before a holy God. Well, how does that happen? Look what it says. Keep reading. Let's all read together. Therefore, since we have been justified by what? Okay, shout out justified by faith. Shout it. Do you see anywhere in there it says anything about things we have to do? No. We know that Sola Grazia gives us that Sola Fide, which is the gift. Nothing in there says, you know what? It's a church you got to go through. It's a system you got to go through. It is your personal confidence in the works of Christ that's a gift of Sola Grazia grace that declares you not guilty before a holy God, and that curse of the law is removed and the wrath is removed, and now it says you're at peace. That word peace there is incredible. We have peace with God through who? Through who? Through new life? Through fellowship to whatever the church is, Damien, through some church, Calvary Chapel, through a Joel Osteen, through a TD Jakes, through a John MacArthur, through some system. It's through Christ alone. Christ. That word peace, eirene in the Greek language, listen, here's what it means. This is important. Paul's saying two parties were at war. You, who I'm writing to in Rome, and God. And God was at war with you. I don't know about you, but I don't think it's very smart to be at war with God. What do you think? Think it's smart? I think, I think it's, why would you want to go to war with God? But the point is, when you're born, you are at war with God. People say, but I'm just a baby. I'm just in the womb. How can I be at war with God? Because you're born under the curse of the law. For all have sinned. You're under that curse. Therefore, you're at war with God, and God's at war with you. And when that grace ignites your life, and we talked about a word last night, ability, gives you that Sola Fide faith, which now you can run and have complete confidence in the works of Christ. Now you're at peace with God through the works of Christ. The mediator, the peacemaker has done this work for you, and you fall, you jump into his arms. And there's nothing more you need to do. That should free you from guilt. But, is God really happy with me? Do I have to ask him in my heart again? Is there something more that I need to do to make sure that I'm going to heaven and I'm right? If you're declared not guilty by faith, you're at peace through what Christ has done. You got to go back to the roots, you guys. We've lost that. I'm promising you. I know Baptist churches, Methodist churches, Presbyterians who believe it is faith and, not faith alone. Here, give me your eyes. 1545, the Roman Catholic Church had a council called the Council of Trent. They were very angry at these Protestants. And they said, we've had enough of these people. And so they got together and they wrote a law. It's called Canon number 9 or 10 or 11, one of them. And they said this, and it sticks to this day. It has not changed. We have been duped into believing it's changed. They said anybody who believes in faith alone that justifies or declares you not guilty before God is anathema, is accursed. And if you believe by faith alone, that's all of us. And so we've got to go back, whether it's Romanism, Islam, Mormonism, Jehovah's Witnesses, evangelicalism, that's a term. We've got to go back for your life's sake and make sure your faith is saving faith. You know what the Hindus do? It's really an incredible thing. I was reading about them. The Hindus, to make sure they're right with their gods, they have it's the largest festival. It's the largest festival in the world. It's held every year between the river Ganges and I can't remember the other name of the river. It's the largest religious festival. People journey for hundreds and thousands of miles to go there. Now listen what they do to make sure they're right with their God. They place their faith in their works, like so many, to make them right with God. They take their children, and there are priests there who are naked, and they perform their rituals naked. They walk on glass. They burn their flesh. They cut their bodies. They shave every bit of hair off their bodies, throw it into the water, believing it's a sacrifice, a work they do that will appease their God. And they come by the thousands. Muslims go back to Mecca. Mormons go to Salt Lake. Hindus go there. Roman Catholics go to places like the Shrine of Guadalupe, and they crawl on their faces to this day. I've gone into Roman Catholic chapels, prayer chapels, and I see people come in and get on their knees and lick the floor and beat their chests because it's faith and not faith alone. That should never be with us. We are free. I'm free. I am declared not guilty before Christ. There's nothing more I need to do. Sola Grazia has given me Sola Fide, and it's connected to the body, to the head. It's Christ and Christ alone. Have faith on those canoes today, will you? Say Sola Fide.
Sola Fide.
Say Sola Canui.
Sola Canui.
Sola Canui in the Sola Fide Canui. Yeah, what about this? I'm going to have a Sola Fide in the Sola Canui. Come on, I'm going to have a Sola Fide in the Sola Canui. This morning you guys enjoyed a great breakfast, true or false? You had faith in who? Who'd you have faith in? Jen, you better come through. Yeah, she's a good lady, isn't she? Her and Rich making all the food. Eat it up, gobble it up. Going back to the past, come on, going digging. Going back to the past, gotta find what's gonna. Going back to the past, going digging. A sola. Father, help us to have a blast on the water. Help us to keep thinking, please. I love these students. I want them to understand that faith, saving faith, we need information that's accurate from your word, not from any system. We need intellectual assent to that accurate information. We need to have individual, personal trust, acquiesce. Humble ourselves, repent, and say, Christ alone, the cornerstone. Jesus, for your sake, amen.